Receiving. Roger.
Adaptation complete.
Building clear. We're not alone here. Building clear. Building clear. Waiting orders. On my way. Clear. Building clear. On my way. Building clear.
Building work done.
Clear. 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 Building clear. 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 Building clear. Clear.
Building complete.
Building clear.
The place is adapted.
Clear. Clear. Building clear. 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 Building clear. Building clear.
Building repurposed.
Clear. Building clear. Clear. Building clear.
Building complete.
Building clear. Clear. On my way.
Building complete.
Clear.
To all survivors, this is an infection-free zone. We provide food and shelter, safety and security.
Clear. Clear.
Join us.
We're on the move.
We're missing resources. We finished construction.
Building clear. Building clear. 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 Going there. Clear.
We need more resources.
Clear. Building clear. Building clear.
Building work done.
Going there. Building clear. 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 Building clear. We're on the move. Going there. Reporting. Going there.
Stop working.
Clear.
Start winding down for some rest.
Going there. We're on the move. We're on the move. Roger. On my way. Infected incoming. Receiving. On my way. On my way. Sir, we've encountered a group of people willing to join us.
Send them in.
Sir, we've encountered a group of people willing to join us.
Send them in.
Ready for action. We're on the move. Going there. Ready for action. Infected incoming. Ready for action. We're on the move. Reporting. On my way. Receiving. Building clear. Waiting orders. Going there. We're on the move. We're on the move. Building clear. clear. Roger. Building clear. We're on the move. Clear. Clear. Ready for action. Infected incoming. On my way. Port spotted. Building clear. Building clear. We're on the move. Incoming. Roger. Clear. Building clear. Hostiles inbound. Clear. 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 Building clear. Building clear. Clear. Building clear. Building clear. Clear.
We are out of resources.
Building clear. Clear. Building clear. There are some infected around here. We're on the move. Clear. Another one incoming.
We're running out of stock.
Building clear. 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 There are some infected around here. Clear. Clear. Clear.
Wipe that
Clear.
smoke off your face and get to work.
Building clear. Roger. Receiving. On my way. Ready for action.
To all survivors, this is an infection-free
Building
zone.
clear.
We provide
Building
food
clear.
and shelter, safety
Receiving.
and security. Join us.
Clear.
Please, come to us. We'll take you in. Where are you? You have to come on
Building
your
clear.
own. And be careful.
Roger.
We're waiting for you.
Construction.
Clear. Ready for action. Reporting. Clear. Building clear. Building clear. Clear.
Building repurposed.
Building clear. Building clear. Building clear. Waiting orders. Roger. Clear. Building clear. Clear. Infected inside! Clear. Building clear. We need backup! Operator. Building clear. Building clear. Ready for action. Operator. Kill them! Going there. Roger. Clear. Building clear. Infected inside! Building clear. Clear. We're on the move.
We're running out of resources.
Clear. Roger. Clear. Building clear.
Building complete.
Building clear. Building clear.
more.
Sir, we've encountered a group of people willing to join us.
Send them
Clear.
in.
Receiving. On my way. Going there. Ready for action. Going there.
Construction complete.
Clear. Building clear. Clear. Going there. Receiving. We're on the move. Roger. On my way. Reporting. Roger. On my way. Going there. Operator. Going there. Going there. Clear. On my way. Going there.
Building complete.
Clear.
Building complete.
Building
Time
clear.
to sleep, everyone. Tomorrow's another day.
Building clear. 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 Building clear. Building clear. Waiting orders.
To all survivors, this is
Operator.
an infection-free zone.
Building clear.
We provide food and shelter, safety and security. Join us.
Building clear. Building clear. Port spotted! Waiting orders. We're on the move. Building clear. Building clear. On my way. Operator. For the zone! Roger. For the zone! Building clear. Roger. We need backup! Clear. On my way. Going there. Roger. They're gone. Roger. Building clear. Building clear. 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 On my way. Building clear. Clear. Building clear. Building clear. Building clear. Waiting orders. Clear. Roger. Clear. Clear. Roger. Building clear. We're on the move. Clear. Building clear. Clear. Ready for action. Receiving. Operator. Clear. Operator. Going Going there. Another one incoming. Waiting orders. Clear. Horde, spotted. Receiving.
We are out of resources.
We're on the move. Clear. Receiving. On my way. Horde, spotted. Receiving. Building clear. Clear. Roger. Clear. We're on the move. Clear.
Please, come to us. We'll take you in.
We're on the move.
Where are you?
Building clear. We're on the move.
You have to come on your own. And be careful. We're waiting for you.
We're running.
Building clear. We're on the move. Ready for action. Clear. Going there. We're on the move.
We finished construction.
Building clear.
To all survivors, this is an infection-free zone. We provide food and shelter, safety and security. Join us.
Please, come to us. We'll take you in. Where are you?
Clear. Going there.
You have to come
Clear.
on your own. And be careful. We're waiting for you.
Building clear. Roger. Ready for action. On my way. Roger. We're on the move. Clear. Clear. Building clear. Clear. Receiving. We're on the move. Clear. Roger. Clear. Building clear. On my way. Roger. Building clear.
To all survivors,
Clear.
this is an infection-free
Clear.
zone. We provide food and shelter, safety and security.
Clear.
Join us.
Building clear. 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 Ready for action. Building clear. 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 Building clear. Building clear. Building clear. On my way. Receiving. Clear. Building clear. Receiving. Clear. Building clear. Operator. Going there. Clear. Building clear. Receiving.
We are out of resources.
Clear. Clear. Building clear. 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 Building clear. Building clear.
Stop working. Start winding
Building
down.
clear.
for some rest.
Clear. Building clear. Clear. Clear.
We are out of resources.
Clear. Hostiles inbound. Building clear. Another one incoming. Operator. Building clear. Building clear. Building clear. Building clear. Waiting orders. We'll get them. Going there. Clear. Clear. Kill them. We're on the move. Port. Spotted. Going there. Clear. Clear. Another one incoming. Building clear. Building clear. Building clear. Another one incoming. Port eliminated. Building clear. Clear. Port spotted. Clear. Building clear. Waiting orders. Kill them. Clear. Clear. Going there.
To all survivors, this is an infection-free zone. We provide
gone.
food and shelter,
Building
safety
clear.
and security.
Going there.
Join us.
Clear. Clear. Infection cleared. Clear. Waiting orders. On my way. Building clear. Building clear. On my way. We're on the move. We're on the move. There are some
They're
infection
trying
around
to get
here.
inside.
Port spotted. Building clear. Building clear. Waiting orders. We'll get them. They're gone. We're on the move. Clear. Infected incoming. Clear. Reporting. Clear.
We're running out of stock.
Clear. Port spotted. Roger. Hostiles inbound. Building clear. Clear. Building clear.
Morning, everybody.
Waiting orders.
Please, come to us. We'll take you in. Where are you? You have to come on your own. And be careful. We're waiting for you.
Waiting orders. Reporting. Going there. Clear. Building clear. Building clear. Clear.
We're missing resources.
Building clear. Operator. Clear. Clear. Building clear. Reporting. Building clear. Clear. Reporting. On my way. Clear. Building clear. On my way. Receiving. Building clear. We're not alone here. Receiving. Building clear. Building clear.
Area scavenged.
Building clear. Clear. Building clear. 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 Building clear. Clear. Building clear. Building clear. Building clear. Clear. Building clear. 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 On my way. Clear. Clear.
To all survivors, this is an infection-free zone. We provide food and
Clear.
shelter, safety and security. Join us.
Please, come to us. We'll take you in. Where are you?
Clear.
You have to come on your own. And be careful.
Clear.
We're waiting for you.
Building clear. Reporting. We're on the move. Building clear. Clear. Building clear. Building clear. Building clear. Receiving. Clear.
We need more resources.
On my way. On my way. Going there.
Dean's coil is open.
Roger.
Get some rest.
Roger. 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 We're on the move. On my way. Building clear. We're on the move. Clear. Going there. Clear. Going there. Building clear. Receiving. Reporting. On my way. On my way. We're on the move. Ready for action. There are some infected around here. Clear! Waiting orders. Building clear. Building clear. Building clear. We're on the move. Waiting orders. Hostiles inbound! We're on the move. Building clear. Building clear. Clear! On my way. Clear! Waiting orders. Going there. Clear! Hostiles inbound! Operator, going there. Going there. Clear! On my way. On my way. Building clear. On my way. We're not alone here. Roger. Going there. Roger. On my way. We're on the move. Roger. Ready for action. Clear. 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 Clear.
To all survivors, this is an
Infected incoming.
infection-free
Clear.
zone.
Reporting.
We provide food and shelter, safety and security.
Clear. Another
Join
one
us.
incoming. Clear. Building clear. Reporting. Hostiles inbound. Clear. Building clear. Operator clear. There are some infected around here. Building clear. 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 Building clear. Building clear. Clear. Building clear. Port spotted. Building clear. Clear. Another one incoming. Clear. 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 Reporting. Going there. On my way. Clear. Clear. Going there. Another one incoming. Operator. Reporting. On my way. We're on the move. Roger.
Our building is under attack.
Building clear. Infected incoming. Reporting. Attack! Clear. We're on the move. Roger. Going there. We're on the move.
Rise and grind, people. No time to wait.
Please, come to us. We'll take lead.
Building clear.
Where are you?
Ready for... We're on the
You have to come on your own. And be careful. We're waiting for you.
Waiting orders. Going.
We're going to the down to the right point.
Get inside! Operator. On my way. Going there. On my way. Roger. Clear.
Adaptation done. We are out of resources.
Clear.
To all survivors, this is an infection-free zone. We provide food and shelter, safety
Clear.
and security. Join us.
Research complete.
Building clear. Building clear. 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 Going there. Building clear. Hostiles inbound! Building clear. Ready for action. We need backup! Clear.
To all survivors, this is an infection-free zone.
Clear.
We provide food and shelter, safety and security. Join us.
Everything's collected.
Clear. Building clear. Building clear. Clear. We're on the move. Clear. Building clear.
Adaptation complete.
Building clear. Building clear. 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 Building clear.
Work's done. Head back to your shelters.
Operator. Going there. Roger. We're on the move. Building clear. Ready for action. Roger. Going there. Going there. Hostiles inbound. Receiving. We're on the move. Sir, we've encountered a group of people willing to join us.
Send them in.
Waiting orders. Going there. Attack! Building clear. Another one incoming! Roger. We're on the move. Roger, we need backup! On my way. We're on the move. We've got them. Building clear. Requesting support! Operator, on my way. On my way. Going there. Reporting. We've got them. For the zone! We're on the move. There are some infected around here. Infection cleared. Reporting. Roger. Waiting orders. On my way. Hostiles inbound! Waiting orders. Attack! Building clear. Hostiles inbound! Going there. On my way. On my way. There are some infected around here. They're gone. Roger. Building clear. Receiving. Hostiles inbound! Clear! Building clear. Going there. Operator. Clear! Receiving. Building clear. There are some infected around here. Attack! We're on the move. On my way. Attack! There are some infected around here. On my way. We're under attack! Receiving. On my way. Going there. We've got them. Roger. Going there. Operator. On my way. There are some infected around here. We're on the move. On my way. Going there. On my way. We're on the move. Port spotted! We're on the move. Receiving. Kill them! Receiving. Roger. Going there. Hostiles inbound. Going there. We need backup. On my way. We're on the move. Roger. Building clear. Building clear. Port spotted. Building clear.
We're running out of resources.
We're on the move. Hostiles inbound. There. On my way. Building clear. On my way. Building clear. 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 Operator, roger. Infected incoming. Going there. Waiting orders. Clear. Clear. Building clear.
Get ready.
Receiving. Roger. Clear.
To all survivors, this is an
Building
infection-free zone. We provide food and shelter, safety and security. Join us.
We're on the move. Receiving. Roger. Clear. Going there.
To all
On my
survivors, this is an infection-free zone. We provide food and shelter, safety and security. Join us.
The place is adapted.
Building clear. Building clear. Clear. Building clear. Ready for action. We're on the move. Roger. Going there. Building clear. On my way. Clear. Ready for action. Waiting orders. Building clear. Clear, clear. 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 Building clear. Clear. Building clear. Clear. Receiving. On my way. Clear.
To all survivors, this is an infection-free
House is
zone.
infected.
We provide
Clear.
food and shelter, safety and security.
Building
Join us.
adapted.
Reporting. Building clear. On my way. Clear. We're on the move. Close. Building clear. Going there. Building clear. Clear.
Area cleared.
We're on the move. Receiving. Building clear.
Job done.
Clear. On my way.
Adaptation done.
Building clear.
To all survivors, this is an infection-free zone. We provide food and shelter, safety and security. Join us.
We are out of resources.
Building clear.
We finished construction.
Clear.
The place is adapted.
Receiving. Clear. On my way. Operator. Building clear. Operator. Roger. Reporting. Building clear. Horde spotted! Clear. Reporting. Infected incoming. Clear. We're on the move. On my way. Ready for action. For the zone! Roger. On my way. Kill them! We're on the move. We're on the move. We've got them. On my way. Operator. On my way. We need backup! Receiving. We're on the move. For the zone! We're on the move. Roger. Roger. There are some infected around here. Roger. Another one incoming! Clear. Going there. Operator. Hostiles inbound. Waiting orders. On my way. Infected incoming! Roger. Operator, going there. Horde, spotted! Building clear. Going there. Kill them! Hostiles inbound! Roger.
To all survivors,
There are some infected around.
this is an
We're on the
infection-free
backup!
zone. We provide food and shelter, safety and security.
Waiting orders. Going there.
Join us.
Hostiles inbound! Roger. 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 Horde eliminated. Get them. Hostiles inbound! They're coming towards us! Roger. On my way. Going there. Horde spotted! Horde eliminated. On my way. Clear. Clear. Operator. Hostiles inbound. Reporting. Clear. Clear. Ready for action. We'll get them. Roger. We're on the move. We're on the move. Ready for the ride. On my way.
Still in bed? Get up and off to your duty.
Receiving.
To all survivors,
Building clear.
this is an infection-free
Clear.
zone. We provide
clear.
food and shelter, safety
Roger.
and security. Join us.
Building clear. Receiving. We're on the move. Waiting orders. Going there. Clear. 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 Building clear. Clear. Clear.
Building adapted.
Clear. Building clear.
The road is missing.
Clear. Building clear. Building clear. Reporting. Operator. Reporting. Roger. Receiving. Going there. Clear. Clear. Waiting orders.
Our worker can't reach the destination. Construction
We're running out
On my
of
way.
We finished
resources.
construction.
Building clear. Clear.
Stop working. Start winding down for some rest.
To all survivors,
Clear.
this is an infection-free zone. We provide food and shelter,
Waiting
safety
orders.
and security. Join us.
We're on the move.
Please, come to us. We'll take you in. Where are you?
Clear.
You have to come on your own. And be careful. We're waiting for you.
Operator. Receiving.
We need more resources.
On my way. Receiving. We're losing men! Waiting orders. Roger. Building clear. Building clear. Ready for action. Ready for action. Going there. We're on the move. Clear. Hostiles inbound. Waiting orders.
They're trying to get inside.
Reporting. Clear. Roger. On my way. Ready for action. On my way. Roger. Building clear. Roger. Operator. Operator. On my way. On my way. Clear. Roger. Going there. Horde, spotted! Going there. On my way. Going there. Operator. For the zone! Infected incoming! Vehicle taken over. Towards us! We're on the move. On my way. We're on the move. We've got them. Hostiles inbound. Waiting orders. For the zone! On my way. We'll get them. Roger. Requesting support! We're on the move. We're on the move. Roger. There are some infected going there. Building clear. Another one incoming! Building clear. Roger. Hostiles inbound. Building clear. Reporting. There are some infected around here.
They're breaking into our building.
Building clear. Building clear. Horde, spotted! Receiving. On my way. There are some infected around here. Ready for action. We're on the move.
We're running out of resources.
Waiting orders. We're on the move. Clear. There are some infected around here. On my way. Hostiles inbound. Receiving. Clear. Waiting orders. Ready for action. Hostiles inbound! Building clear. Horde spotted! Ready for action. Going there. On my way. Reporting. On my way. There are some infected around here. We're on the move. Roger. On my way. On my way. Building clear. We're on the move. On my way. Roger. Clear. Roger. Building clear. Hostiles inbound. Clear. Roger.
The work ain't gonna
Another
wait
one
for us.
incoming. Roger.
Okay, clear.
We're under attack. They're coming towards us. Going there. We're on the move. Clear. Going there. On my way. Waiting orders. We're on the move. Roger. Roger.
Construction ready.
Roger. Reporting. Roger. Going there. Going there. We're on the move. Clear. On my way. Roger. Clear.
To all survivors, this is an infection-free zone.
Operator,
We
we're on
provide
the
food
move.
and shelter, safety and security. Join us.
On my way. Going there.
You have to come on your own, and be careful. We're waiting for you.
Waiting orders. On my way. Clear. Receiving. Clear. Receiving. Going there. Waiting orders. We'll get them. Building clear. For the zone! They're coming towards us! On my way. We're on the move. For the zone! On my way. Clear. We're on the move. Going there. Building clear. Building clear. Operator. Ready for action. Reporting. Going there. Building clear. Building clear. Clear. Ready for action. Building clear. On my way.
Sir, we've encountered a group of people willing to join us.
Send them in.
We're on the move. Clear.
Send them in.
Roger. Going there. On my way. Going there. Roger. Ready for action. We're on the move. We're on the move. Reporting. Ready for action. Going there. On my way. Ready for action. We're on the move. Clear. Going there. Operator.
Adaptation done.
Area scavenged.
Waiting orders. Going there. Building clear. Ready for action. Roger. Clear. On my way. On my way. Roger. Going there. We're on the move. Clear. We're on the move. Clear. Waiting orders. Receiving. Roger. Roger. Going there. They're coming towards us! On my way. We're on the move.
Adaptation done.
Attack!
Work done.
Going there.
Back to the shelter.
We're on the move. For the zone! Building clear. Going there. Roger. On my way. Roger. Roger. Reporting. Clear. Clear. Hostiles inbound. Ready for action. We're on the move. Receiving. There are some infected around here. Going there. Operator. Horde, spotted! Waiting orders. Clear. On my way. Horde, spotted! Building clear. Waiting orders. Building clear. Clear. Building clear. Clear. Ready for action. Operator. Building clear. 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 Building clear. Building clear. 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 There are some infected around here. Clear. Waiting orders. Ready for action. Building clear. Clear. Operator. Going there. Building clear. Clear. Receiving. They're gone. Building clear. Roger. Going there. There are some infected around. Going there. On my way. We're on the move. On my way. Waiting orders. We'll get them. On my way. Going there. Roger. Roger. We're on the move. Roger. Infection cleared. Operator. Roger. Going there. Roger. Clear. Roger.
The door won't hold much longer.
Building clear. Waiting orders. Roger. Going there. Operator. Clear. Waiting orders. We're on the move. Clear. Reporting. Building clear. Going there. Roger. Going there. On my way. Going there. Operator. On my way. Reporting. Building clear. On my way. Reporting. Reporting. Going there.
We're running out of resources.
Building clear. Building clear. Operator. Clear. Building clear. 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 Building clear. Clear. Building clear. Clear. Building clear. Building clear. Building clear. Building clear. Roger. Building clear. Clear. Ready for action. Going there.
Get up and earn your keep.
Clear. Clear. On my way. Reporting. On my way. Operator. Receiving. On my way. Building clear. Waiting orders. Building clear. Clear. Reporting. Building clear.
Our worker can't reach the destination.
Building clear. Going there. On my way. Clear. On my way. We're on the move. On my way. We're on the move. Building clear. Clear. Waiting orders. On my way. Receiving. Operator. On my way. Receiving. Building clear. Clear. Building clear. Clear. Building clear. Ready for action. We're on the move. Clear. We're on the move. Clear. For the zone! Building clear. Clear. Requesting support! Clear. Building clear. Building clear. Roger. Building clear. We're on the move. Building clear. Clear. Reporting.
Sir, we've encountered a group of people willing to join us.
Send them in.
Clear. Receiving. Clear. 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 Waiting orders. Clear.
The road is missing.
Building clear. Reporting. Going there. Waiting orders. Roger. Building clear. Waiting orders. Building clear. Clear. Waiting orders.
We're missing resources.
Clear. Building clear. 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 On my way. Going there. Building clear. We're on the move. On my way. Clear. Going there. Going there. Going there. Building clear. Roger.
Time to sleep, everyone. Tomorrow's another day.
Clear. Roger. Building clear. Clear. Clear.
Area cleared.
Clear. Clear. Building clear. Building clear. Building clear. 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 Building clear. Building clear. Building clear. Clear. Building clear. Operator. Going there. Roger. Clear. Building clear. Clear. Going there. Operator. We'll get them. Clear. On my way. There are some infected around. We're under attack! On my way. Roger. Roger. We've got them. Building clear. We're on the move. Building clear. Going there. On my way. We're on the move. Clear. Going there. Operator. Waiting orders. Going there. Waiting orders. Roger. Reporting. Kill them! Clear. Clear. They're coming towards us! Going there. Horde eliminated. On my way. Waiting orders. Clear. Building clear. Ready for action. Building clear. Waiting orders. Clear. Clear. Building clear. Building clear. Another one incoming! Building clear. Reporting. Building clear. Reporting. Building clear. We're on the move. Infected incoming! Operator. Going there. Operator. We're on the move. Port, clear. Spotted. Roger. Building clear. Roger.
We need more resources.
Building clear. Hostiles inbound. Reporting. Going there. Another one incoming. Receiving. Kill them. Roger. Roger. Going there. Requesting support. Roger. Roger. On my way. Port, spotted! We've got them. We're on the move. Going there. We'll get them. We're on the move. We'll get them. Roger. They're coming towards us! Going there. Roger. We're on the move. There are some infected around. Infection cleared. On my way. Waiting orders. Going there.
Enough
There's no
sleep,
way in
people.
sight.
We've got work to do.
Reporting. Waiting orders. Operator. Waiting orders. Going there. Ready for action. On my way. Where are we going? Attack! We're under attack! Clear! Going there. We're on the move. Roger. For the zone! Building clear. We're on the move. Backup! On my way. On my way. We're on the move. Building clear. Roger. On my way. Roger. Building clear. Reporting. Clear.
The road is missing.
Clear. Roger. Ready for action. Reporting. Clear. On my way. Going there. On my way. Building clear. Clear. Waiting orders. Building clear. We're on the move. Operator. We're on the move. Clear. Going there. Building clear. Clear.
Our worker can't reach the destination.
Repurposed.
Sir, we've encountered a group of people willing to join us.
Send
Clear.
them in.
Waiting orders. Roger. On my way. clear. Building clear. Ready for action. Building clear. Operator. Roger. Clear. Roger.
Our workers might die.
Going there. Ready for action. For the zone! Reporting.
Adaptation done.
The citizens are in danger.
Send them in.
Ready for action. For the zone!
The citizens are in danger. Our citizens are under attack. Protect the unarmed.
Building clear. Clear! Operator.
They're attacking our workers.
We'll get them. Roger. Ready for action. We're on the move. Receiving. Roger.
To all survivors, this is an infection-free zone.
Building
Provide
clear.
food and shelter, safety and security. Join us.
Waiting orders. Clear. Clear. Reporting. Going there. Operator. On my way. Building clear. Clear.
Send them in.
Reporting. Roger. Building clear. Going there. Clear. On my way. Roger. Clear. Clear. Reporting.
The day's
Our
twilight
worker
hour.
can't reach the
Get some
destination.
rest.
On my way.
Job done.
Reporting. Clear. Building clear. Clear. On my way. Clear. 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 Port. Spotted. We're on the move. Building clear. Operator. Building clear. There are some infected around here. Building clear. Another one incoming! Building clear. Clear. Building clear. Clear. Building clear. Another one incoming! Clear. Building clear. 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 We're on the move. Building clear. Building clear. Clear. Port. Spotted. Clear. Building clear. They're coming towards us! Reporting. Port. Spotted. They're gone. On my way. Port. Spotted.
Our worker can't reach the destination.
Kill them! Port! Spotted! Attack! Another one incoming!
We're running out of resources.
We're on the move. Horde eliminated.
Our worker has no way.
Horde, on my way. Roger. Reporting. Going there. Operator, going there. Going there. Another one incoming!
Don't be slackers. Wake up and do your job.
Ready for action. Clear. Roger. Waiting orders. Roger. Going there. Kill them! Going there. Roger. On my way. For the zone! We're on the move. Going there.
We finished construction.
Roger. Roger. Going there. On my way. On my way. Going there. Receiving. Roger. Operator. Roger. Ready for action. Waiting orders. Building clear. On my way. Waiting orders. Ready for action. Waiting orders. Ready for action.
The road is missing.
Roger. On my way. Building clear. Roger. Roger. Clear. Building clear. Ready for action. Roger. Building clear. Building clear. 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 Building clear. Building clear. We're on the move. We're on the move. We're on the move. Clear. 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 Building clear. Building clear. 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 Clear.
Building work done.
Reporting. Roger. Building clear.
We're running out of stock.
Clear. Clear. Roger. Clear.
The path is blocked.
Clear. Building clear. 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 Going there. Clear. Clear. Clear.
Our worker can't reach the destination.
We're on the move. Clear. Building clear. 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 Building clear. Operator. On my way. Building clear. Requesting support! On my way. We're on the move. Building clear. Roger. Reporting. Clear. Ready for action. Roger. Building clear. Waiting orders. Reporting. Receiving. Building clear. Operator. Building clear. Another one incoming! Building clear. Waiting orders. We're on the move. On my way. Roger. Horde spotted! Clear. Clear. Building clear. Clear. Reporting. Building clear. Building clear. Another one incoming! Clear. Building clear. 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 Reporting. Building clear. Ready for action. We're on the move. We'll get them. Clear. Building clear. On my way. Kill them. Going there. Going there. We're on the move. On my way. Kill them! There are some infected around here. Building clear. We're on the move. We're under attack! We're on the move. Roger. We're on the move. On my way. Infection clear. 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 Building clear. Reporting. We're on the move. Horde spotted! Building clear. Waiting orders. For the zone! Going there. Hostiles inbound! We're on the move. Kill them! Building clear. On my way. Requesting support! On my way. We're on the move. On my way. Eliminated. Building clear.
survivors.
Building clear. Hostiles
This is an
inbound.
infection-free zone. We provide food and shelter, safety and security.
Building clear.
Join us.
Waiting orders. We're on the move. Building clear. Horde spotted. Building clear. Operator. Going there. Clear. Building clear. Building clear. Clear. Hostiles inbound. Clear. Building clear. Clear. Building clear. Building clear. Clear.
Our worker can't reach the
Going
destination.
there.
Please, come to us. We'll take you in. Where are you? You have to come on your own. And be careful. We're waiting for you.
Building clear.